Hey guys, tonight we wander into the fog-drenched streets of the industrial past to join the silent ranks of the morning's first risers. We are stepping into the worn boots of a knocker-upper, but not the kind who wields a heavy truncheon or a long, clumsy fishing pole. No, you are a specialist in a far more delicate art, using a hollow tube and a pocketful of dried peas to wake the world without waking the neighbors. You probably believe this sounds like a playground prank gone wrong, or a fever dream from a history textbook. But this was a precise, paid profession that kept the factories running long before the digital buzzers of a smartphone alarm. Before you get too comfortable and possibly fall asleep halfway through, tap like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this odd mix of boredom and history. It keeps the channel alive and the stories just sleepy enough to help you drift off again next time. Go ahead and drop a comment, letting me know where you are watching from and what time it is in your part of the world. I always love seeing how many of you are winding down while the rest of us are just waking up. Now dim the lights, let the world outside grow quiet, and turn on a fan if you like that soft, steady hum in the background. Let your shoulders loosen and your breathing slow. This is your time to drift. No rush, no deadlines, no noise. Just you, a little warmth in the air, and the faint whisper of history waiting to unfold. So, settle in, and let's ease gently into tonight's journey together. You open your eyes, but the room is still wrapped in the heavy, charcoal blanket of night. There is no sunlight pressing against the curtains, no birds singing their morning chorus, and certainly no traffic humming on the streets below. It is that deep, quiet hour when the night has not quite finished its shift, but the morning is already waiting impatiently in the wings. You lie there for a moment, buried under the weight of 3 wool blankets, feeling the incredible warmth that your body has created during the few hours of rest you managed to steal. The air in the room is cold, a sharp and biting chill that nips at the tip of your nose and warns you against leaving the safety of the bed. It is the kind of cold that seeps through the brick walls of these terraced houses, the kind that ignores the thin glass of the single window pane. You take a slow, deep breath, and you can feel the frosty air filling your lungs, waking your senses before your muscles have even decided to move. You exhale, and a faint cloud of white mist drifts up toward the ceiling, vanishing into the shadows. It is a simple, silent confirmation that winter has settled deep into the bones of the city. You know you cannot stay here. The warmth is a trap, a luxury that belongs to the wealthy or the unemployed, and you are neither. You have a job to do, a very specific and peculiar responsibility that the entire town relies on, even if they rarely thank you for it. You are the timekeeper for those who cannot keep time themselves. You are the human alarm clock, the starter pistol for the industrial engine that powers this valley. If you do not get up, the weavers do not get up, the spinners do not get up, and the great iron machines in the mills will sit silent and cold. With a heavy sigh that is half resignation and half determination, you push the heavy blankets aside. The cold air rushes in instantly, claiming the space where your warmth used to be. You swing your legs over the side of the mattress, and your feet search for the floorboards. The wood is smooth but freezing, sending a jolt of alertness straight up your spine. You sit there for just a second, grounding yourself in the dark, listening to the silence of the house. It is completely still. The other lodgers in the building are deep in their dreams, likely savoring the last hour of peace before you come around to ruin it for them later. You stand up, your joints popping softly in the quiet room. You move by memory, navigating the small space without needing to see. You know exactly where the wash basin stands, where the chair with your clothes is positioned, and where the slightly loose floorboard is that creaks if you step on it too hard. You avoid it with the grace of a dancer, stepping lightly to the side. It would be a terrible irony, you think, to be a professional waker-up who accidentally wakes up his own household for free. You reach for your clothes, which are draped over the back of a wooden chair. They are cold to the touch, stiff with the damp chill of the room. You pull on your undershirt, shivering as the fabric settles against your skin. Then comes the shirt, thick cotton that has been washed so many times it feels almost like flannel. You button it all the way to the neck, trapping whatever heat you can generate. Your trousers are heavy wool, scratchy and durable. They are made for walking, for kneeling on cobblestones, for surviving the wind that whips down the narrow alleyways. You pull them on, fastening the braces over your shoulders. Each layer is a shield, a piece of armor against the elements you are about to face. You sit back down on the edge of the bed to pull on your socks. They are thick, hand-knitted wool, perhaps darned in a few places at the heel and toe. You cherish them because they are the only thing standing between you and the frozen pavement. Next come the boots, leather, worn soft by miles of walking, with sturdy soles that have been healed more times than you can count. You lace them up tight, feeling the familiar pressure around your ankles. It is a comforting feeling, a signal to your body that the workday has officially begun. Now that you are dressed, you move to the small table in the corner of the room. You fumble in the dark for a moment until your fingers find the box of matches. You strike one against the rough strip on the side, and a small flare of yellow light bursts into existence. The smell of sulfur briefly fills the air, sharp and pungent. You touch the flame to the wick of a small oil lamp. The fire catches, growing steady and bright, casting long, dancing shadows against the peeling wallpaper. The room is suddenly revealed in soft amber tones. The unmade bed, the wash basin with its pitcher of icy water, the small wardrobe that leans slightly to the left. It is time to prepare your tools. Most men in this city work with hammers, spanners, or shuttles. They work with loud, heavy things made of iron and steel. Your tools are different. They are organic, simple, and silent. You open the drawer of the small table and reach inside. Your hand closes around a long, smooth object. You pull it out and hold it under the light of the lamp. It is a bamboo tube, perhaps 4 or 5 feet long. It is light, hollow, and perfectly straight. You run your thumb along the surface, feeling the polished grain. It has been varnished to keep it from splintering and to protect it from the rain. This is your instrument. Some of your colleagues, the other knocker-uppers who patrol different districts, prefer the long fishing poles with wire tridents attached to the end. They use them to scratch at the window panes, a scratching sound that sets teeth on edge. Others use heavy truncheons to bang on the doors, a crude method that wakes up the whole street, and often earns them a bucket of water from a second-story window. But you You are an artist. You prefer the pea shooter. It is elegant, efficient, and, most importantly, precise. Historians still argue whether the pea shooter method was invented by a clever dock worker who wanted to save his back from carrying a heavy pole, or if it was an adaptation from children's games, turned into a professional necessity. Whatever the origin, you know it is the superior method. It allows you to stand in the street and deliver a sharp, rhythmic tap to a window on the third or fourth floor without ever leaving the ground. You set the bamboo tube on the table and reach for the second part of your toolkit. It is a large glass jar with a screw-top lid. Inside, hundreds of small, pale spheres rattle softly as you lift it. Dried peas. You hold the jar up to the lamplight, inspecting the contents like a jeweler inspecting diamonds. They need to be just right. If they are too small, they won't make enough noise against the glass. If they are too large or irregular, they might get stuck in the tube, leaving you looking foolish on the pavement while a worker oversleeps and loses a day's pay. You unscrew the lid and pour a handful of peas onto the table. They scatter with a dry, clicking sound, rolling across the wood. You pick through them, selecting the best ones. You discard any that are chipped or split. You look for the ones that are hard, round, and heavy for their size. These are your ammunition. You are not shooting to kill, you are shooting to wake. It is a delicate balance. You need enough force to rattle the pane and cut through the deep sleep of a tired laborer, but not so much force that you crack the glass. A broken window would cost more than a week's wages, and in this line of work, mistakes are expensive. You take a small leather pouch from your pocket and begin to fill it with the chosen peas. You scoop them up, letting them trickle through your fingers. The sound is soothing, like rain falling on a tin roof. You fill the pouch until it has a satisfying weight, then pull the drawstring tight. You place the pouch in your coat pocket, patting it to make sure it is secure. You check the tube one last time, blowing a puff of air through it to ensure the bore is clear of dust or lint. The air whistles softly as it exits the other end. Perfect. You extinguish the lamp, plunging the room back into darkness. The image of the flame lingers in your vision for a moment, a ghost of light floating in the black. You pick up the bamboo shooter, feeling its familiar balance in your hand. It feels like an extension of your arm. You move to the door, opening it slowly to avoid squeaking hinges. You step out into the hallway, which smells faintly of coal dust and boiled cabbage, the permanent perfume of the boarding house. You descend the stairs, counting them in your head as you go. 1, 2, 3. There is a loose carpet tack on the 7th step that always catches your boot if you aren't careful. You step over it. 11, 12, 13. You reach the ground floor. The house is silent, a heavy, breathing silence that feels almost solid. You can hear the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock in the landlady's parlor. It is a slow, ponderous sound, marking the passage of time that you are now responsible for managing. You reach the front door and slide the heavy iron bolt back. It moves with a dull scrape of metal on metal. You turn the key in the lock and pull the door open. The cold night air hits you like a physical blow, far colder than the chill of your bedroom. This is the raw, unfiltered atmosphere of the city before dawn. It tastes of soot and damp stone. You step out onto the doorstep and pull the door closed behind you, testing the handle to make sure it is locked. You are locked out now. There is no going back to the warm bed. The city is yours. You pause for a moment on the step, adjusting your scarf, pulling it up over your nose to warm the air before you breathe it. You look up at the sky. It is a deep, bruised purple, vanishing into black. The stars are faint, choked out by the smog that hangs over the valley, even when the chimneys are resting. The moon is a sliver of silver, hanging low over the silhouette of the distant mill. It looks cold and indifferent, watching you start your solitary patrol. You tap your pocket, feeling the reassuring lump of the pea pouch. You grip the bamboo tube, the wood quickly taking on the temperature of your hand. You take the first step onto the pavement. Your boot meets the stone with a firm, quiet connection. You begin to walk. It is strange to think that while you are starting your day, most of the world is at its most vulnerable. People are asleep, lost in dreams, completely unaware of the cold and the dark. You are the guardian of their schedule. You hold the keys to their livelihood. If you fail, the factory whistles blow for empty floors. Mainstream history books often talk about the great inventors who built the steam engines or the wealthy barons who built the mills. But they rarely mention men like you. They forget that without the knocker-upper, the entire industrial machine would have stumbled and stalled. There were no affordable alarm clocks for the working class in these days. A clock was a luxury item, something you might inherit or save years to buy. For the average family, you were the clock. You were the reliable, walking timepiece that ensured bread was put on the table. There is a gentle humor in it, you suppose. You are paid by the week to be a nuisance. You are a professional annoyance. People pay you to interrupt the best part of their day. And yet, if you are late, if you miss a house, they are furious. It is a thankless job, but it has its charms. You have the city to yourself. You see the world in a way no one else does. You see the way the frost patterns form on the cobblestones. You see the stray cats claiming their territories in the moonlight. You see the subtle shift in the sky as the earth turns toward the sun. You continue down the street, your footsteps echoing softly against the brick terraces. The houses here are identical, row upon row of red brick and slate roofs. To a stranger, it would be a maze, a confusing repetition of doors and windows. But to you, each house is distinct. You know which door has a cracked step. You know which window box has dead geraniums in it. You know which chimney smokes, even when the fire is low. You have a mental map of the neighborhood etched into your brain, more detailed than any surveyor's chart. You reach the corner and turn onto the main road. The wind is stronger here, channeling down the wide street. It tugs at your coat and stings your eyes. You squint against it, lowering your head. You are not just walking aimlessly, you are heading to your first appointment. The route is calculated for efficiency. You start with the bakers and the boiler stokers, the men who need to be up before the weavers. Their windows are your first targets. As you walk, you run your thumb over the smooth surface of the bamboo tube again. It is a comforting ritual. You wonder about the bamboo itself. Where did it come from? A jungle thousands of miles away. How did it travel from a warm, green forest to this cold, gray city of stone and iron? It is a small piece of the exotic in your mundane life. A tool of the tropics used to fight the northern winter. You stop under a gas lamp that is flickering, its mantle hissing softly as the gas flow fluctuates. The light creates a pool of pale yellow on the wet pavement. You check your own pocket watch, a battered silver piece attached to your waistcoat by a leather thong. The face is cracked, but it keeps perfect time. You wend it every night religiously. It says 3:45 a.m. You are right on schedule. The silence of the street is profound. It is not just the absence of noise. It is a presence in itself. It feels heavy like water. Every sound you make seems amplified. The rustle of your coat, the scrape of your boot, the intake of your breath. You feel like an intruder in your own city, but you belong here. This is your domain. The day belongs to the factory owners and the shopkeepers. The night belongs to the thieves and the policemen. But this time, this gray, in-between time, belongs to you. You reach into your pocket and pull out the pouch. You loosen the drawstring and reach in with 2 fingers, pinching a single dried pea. You bring it out and hold it up. It is small, hard, and insignificant. But in your hands, it is a tool of industry. You drop it into your mouth, not to eat, but to hold it there, warming it, keeping it ready. Actually, that's a common misconception. You don't hold them in your mouth. That would make them wet and soft, ruining the aerodynamics. You keep them in the pouch until the moment of truth. But sometimes, when the wind is biting, you imagine the warmth of a hot meal, a peas pudding perhaps, steaming in a bowl. But these peas are not for eating. They are for working. You approach the first house on your list. It is a narrow building, squeezed between 2 larger ones. The paint on the door is peeling, revealing layers of blue and green underneath. You stop on the pavement, looking up. The window you need is on the 2nd floor. It is dark, reflecting the streetlight in a distorted gleam. Behind that glass lies a man who needs to be at the rail yard in 45 minutes. He is currently warm, asleep, and happy. You are about to change that. You position yourself. You do not stand directly under the window. That would require an awkward angle for your neck. You stand back a few paces, near the curb. You plant your feet firmly, shoulder-width apart. You check the wind. It is blowing gently from the left. You will need to aim slightly to the left to compensate. It is a calculation you do instinctively, without math or paper. It is muscle memory. You raise the bamboo tube. You bring it to your lips. The wood is cold against your mouth. You tilt your head back, sighting along the barrel of the tube like a marksman. You align the tip of the bamboo with the upper pane of the window. You reach into your pouch and extract a pea. You place it into the mouth of the tube. It rolls down slightly, stopping against the curve of the bamboo. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the icy air. You are ready. The street waits. The house waits. The sleeping man waits unknowingly. This is the moment the day begins. Not with a rooster's crow, not with a bugle call, but with the soft, sharp intake of breath and the flight of a dried legume. You are the knocker-upper, and your shift has officially started. You hold your breath for a second, stabilizing your aim. The world seems to pause. You are the only moving thing in a landscape of stone. You focus on the glass. You can almost feel the texture of it from here. You are connected to it. You are connected to the sleeper inside. You are the bridge between the dream world and the waking world. You are the ferryman of the morning. And with a sharp, controlled puff of air, You send the pea flying into the darkness. You watch the pea vanish into the gloom, a tiny projectile invisible against the night sky. For a split second, there is only silence, the pause between action and consequence. Then, a sharp tick echoes from above. It's a crisp, clean sound, distinct from the ambient noises of the city. The dried pea has struck the glass pane perfectly in the center. It bounces off, clattering faintly onto the sill, or perhaps falling all the way to the street below, lost among the cobblestones. You don't look for it. The ammunition is expendable. The result is what matters. You lower the bamboo tube slightly, your eyes fixed on the dark rectangle of the window. You wait. This is part of the rhythm. You cannot simply fire and walk away. You are not a vandal throwing stones. You are a professional ensuring a service. You need confirmation. The contract is not fulfilled until you see a sign of life. Nothing happens immediately. The window remains dark. The silence returns, heavier than before. The sleeper is deep in the trough of exhaustion, likely dreaming of a world where factory whistles don't exist. You sigh, a plume of white mist escaping your lips. You reach into your pouch again. The second pea feels cold and hard between your thumb and forefinger. You load it into the tube, bringing the bamboo back to your lips. You adjust your aim, perhaps targeting a slightly different spot on the pane to create a variation in the sound. Tick. Louder this time. You put a little more breath behind it. The sound reverberates slightly in the narrow street. Still, the curtains do not move. You shift your weight from one foot to the other, the cold beginning to creep through the soles of your boots. This is the patience of the job. Some clients are light sleepers, waking at the first scratch of a mouse in the wall. Others, like this one, sleep like the dead, exhausted by 14-hour shifts in the deafening roar of the weaving sheds. You can't blame them. If you worked those shifts, you'd probably need a cannon to wake up. You load a third pea. This time you fire two in quick succession. Tick tick, a double tap, a code. Suddenly, a flicker of movement. The curtain twitches. A faint light appears, likely a match being struck. A moment later, the glow of a candle blooms behind the fabric, casting a warm, orange silhouette against the window. Then, the sash lifts a few inches. A face appears, pale, bleary-eyed, hair matted from sleep. A hand waves briefly, a sluggish gesture of acknowledgement. It is not a friendly wave. It is the wave of a man accepting his fate. He is awake. Your job here is done. You nod, though he probably can't see you in the shadows of the street. You turn on your heel, the bamboo tube resting casually on your shoulder like a soldier's rifle. You check your list, though you don't really need to. The next house is 3 doors down. The widow who works in the bleaching rooms. She is usually easier to rouse. As you move deeper into the neighborhood, the fog begins to thicken. It rolls off the canal, a damp, gray blanket that swallows the tops of the buildings. The streetlights become hazy orbs, illuminating only the swirling mist around them. The world shrinks to a radius of 10 feet around you. The rest of the city is gone, dissolved into the vapor. It feels like walking through a dream. The sounds of your footsteps are muffled, deadened by the moisture in the air. This is the landscape of the Industrial Revolution. Not just brick and iron, but smoke and fog. They call it smog, a new word for a new kind of weather. It tastes metallic on your tongue. It coats your throat. You pull your scarf tighter. filtering the air through the wool. You are walking through the breath of the factories, the exhaust of 1,000 coal fires that never truly go out. Even at this hour, the great chimneys are exhaling, feeding the gray cloud that hangs over the valley. You pass the entrance to an alleyway. It is a black mouth in the fog. You hear a rustle, the scurry of tiny claws on stone. A rat, likely as big as a cat, scavenging for scraps. You ignore it. The rats are the other night shift workers. They have their business, and you have yours. As long as they stay out of your boots, you have no quarrel with them. The architecture here is monotonous, a testament to efficiency over beauty. But in the fog, it takes on a strange, ghostly grandeur. The towering walls of a warehouse loom up out of the mist like the cliffs of a canyon. The iron gates of a mill yard look like the entrance to a fortress. You are a traveler in a city of giants, a small figure navigating the spaces between the machines. You reach the widow's house. It is well kept, the doorstep scrubbed clean, even though the soot settles back on it within hours. You take your position. You don't need to check the wind here. The alley protects you from the gusts. You raise the tube. Tick. Immediate response. The candle flares almost instantly. She was likely already half awake, dreading the sound. The curtain pulls back, and she taps the glass with a thimble. Her signal to you. Efficient. Professional. You appreciate that. It saves you peas and breath. You tip your cap to the window and move on. The walk to the next sector takes you past the canal itself. The water is black and oily, reflecting nothing. It smells of stagnant water and chemicals. Barges are moored along the side, long dark shapes sleeping on the water. These boats carry the coal that feeds the engines and the cotton that feeds the looms. They are the arteries of the city. You can hear the water lapping gently against the hulls, a soft, rhythmic slapping sound. It is a peaceful noise in a place that is usually so loud. You cross a small humpbacked bridge. The cobblestones are slippery here with slime and frost. You tread carefully, placing your feet flat to keep your balance. The bamboo tube acts as a counterweight. You imagine slipping and falling into that black water. It would be a cold, miserable end. You shudder, not just from the temperature, and quicken your pace. On the other side of the canal, the houses are different. These are back to backs, even denser and more crowded than the terraces. Entire families packed into single rooms. Here, your accuracy is crucial. If you hit the wrong window, you wake up 6 people who don't need to be up yet. And tired people are angry people. You have heard stories of knocker, uppers being pelted with rotten vegetables, or emptied chamber pots for waking the wrong household. You pride yourself on never making that mistake. You consult the chalk marks on the pavement. This is a system unique to your trade. Clients who have irregular shifts, maybe they are on reduced hours or covering for a sick friend, will mark their doorstep or the slate next to their door. A simple code. A horizontal line for 400, across for 40-30. A circle for 500. You scan the ground with your eyes, reading the street like a book. Ah, there, number 42. A faint white scrawl on the slate. A triangle. That means 3C45. You are right on time. But wait. The mark looks old, faded by the rain. Is it from yesterday? Or did they forget to rub it out? This is the detective work of the job. You look closer. There is a fresh scratch next to it, bright and clear. Yes, it's valid. You set up your shot. This window is higher, on the 3rd floor. A garret room. The angle is steep. You have to tilt your head all the way back. The bamboo tube points almost vertically. This requires more breath, more force to fight gravity. You fill your cheeks with air. You resemble a trumpet player preparing for a high note. You blow hard. The pea shoots up, fighting the air resistance. It strikes the glass with a satisfying clack. It sounded solid. You wait. No movement. You fire again. Clack. Still nothing. You check your pouch. You are using the heavier peas, the storm peas, as you call them. They should be loud enough. Maybe the occupant is ill. Or perhaps they have simply left. People move often in this city, flitting from room to room as rent prices fluctuate. You decide to give it one more try. The machine gun technique. You load 3 peas. Clack, clack, clack. A rapid-fire assault on the pane. Finally, the window opens. A man's head sticks out. He looks furious. All right, I'm up. You'll break the bloody glass. He hisses down at you. You just smile in the darkness. Morning, Arthur. Just making sure. You whisper back, though he probably can't hear you. He slams the window shut. A satisfied customer in his own way. He won't be late today. You continue your patrol. The fog is starting to lift slightly, or perhaps your eyes are just adjusting to it. You can see the faint outline of the sun trying to break through the eastern horizon. It is not a sunrise of gold and pink. It is a lightening of the gray, a shift from charcoal to slate. The day is coming, relentless and inevitable. You pass a bakery. The smell hits you before you see it. Yes, warm flour, baking dough. It is a heavenly scent in the cold morning air. The bakers have been up for hours already. You can see the glow of the ovens through the basement grating. You can hear the heavy thud of dough being slammed onto tables. It makes your stomach grumble. You haven't eaten since last night. A piece of bread and dripping, perhaps. You try to ignore the hunger. The work comes first. As you walk, you think about the other ways people used to wake up. Before men like you, people drank copious amounts of water before bed, relying on their bladder to wake them before dawn. The bladder alarm, they called it. Crude, uncomfortable, and risky? What if you wet the bed? Or what if you just slept through the urge? No, the knocker, upper, is a civilized advancement. It allows for uninterrupted sleep until the very last moment. It is a service of mercy, really. You turn a corner and find yourself near the railway embankment. A train is passing, a goods train carrying coal. The engine is a monstrous shadow, breathing fire and smoke. The ground shakes under your feet. The noise is deafening. A rhythmic clatter and hiss that drowns out all thought. You pause, waiting for it to pass. The wind from the train whips your coat around your legs. Sparks fly from the funnel, drifting into the fog like fireflies before dying out. It is a reminder of the power of this age. Everything is moving, burning, driving forward. And you, with your bamboo stick and dried peas, are the tiny gear that starts the wheel turning every morning. It feels insignificant when you stand next to a locomotive, but you know better. That driver in the cab, someone woke him up. That signalman in the box, someone woke him up too. You are the invisible hand. The train rumbles away into the distance, leaving a trail of sulfur and silence. You cross under the bridge, the echo of your boots bouncing off the damp brickwork. You are entering the district of the spinners now. These are skilled workers, slightly better paid. Their curtains are lace, not rags. Their windows are cleaner. You spot a cat sitting on a wall, watching you with yellow eyes. It doesn't move as you pass. It knows you. You are part of the night furniture. "Morning, tiger," you whisper. The cat blinks slowly. A silent exchange between colleagues. You check your list again. Only a few more stops in this sector before you loop back to the main square. You are making good time. The rhythm of the walk, the load, the aim, the fire, the weight. It becomes hypnotic. You fall into a trance state, a moving meditation. Your body knows what to do. Your mind is free to wander. You wonder about the peas. Do they sprout? In the spring, do the cracks in the pavement bloom with pea shoots? Do the window boxes you miss sometimes grow unexpected vegetables? It is a funny thought. A city paved with wasted breakfast. You imagine a forest of pea vines climbing up the factory walls, reclaiming the brick for nature. Jack and the Beanstalk scenario, but with thousands of little Jacks climbing up to the bedroom windows. You reach a house where the window is open a crack. This is tricky. If you shoot a pea through the gap, it will land inside the room. It might hit the floor, which is quiet. Or it might hit a jug, which is loud. Or it might hit the sleeper, which is rude. You have to aim for the glass that is still exposed. A smaller target. You take extra care. You narrow your eyes. You steady your breathing. Tick. The pea hits the frame. A dull thud. Not good enough. Wood doesn't sing like glass. You try again. Tick. Glass. Good. A voice comes from inside. "Thank you, John." A woman's voice. Soft, sleepy, you freeze. You don't know a John. And your name isn't John. You realize she thinks you are her husband coming home. Or perhaps a neighbor. You don't correct her. You just wait until you see the lamp light. She is up. That is all that matters. You walk away, leaving the mystery of John behind. The streets are beginning to feel less empty now. You see a milk cart in the distance, the horse's hooves clipping loudly on the stones. The milkman waves a gloved hand. You nod back. The fraternity of the early risers. You are not alone anymore. The vanguard of the day is assembling. You check your pouch. It is getting lighter. You have used maybe a quarter of your ammunition. You still have plenty for the rest of the round. You shake the pouch, enjoying the rattle. It is the sound of a job being done. You approach a row of houses that back onto the mill itself. The shadow of the great chimney falls across them, even in the dark. These people live in the eternal shade of their workplace. It must be oppressive, but they sleep soundly enough. You wake a father and two sons in one house. 3 faces appear at the window, one after another, like puppets in a show. Tick, tick, up, up, up. You are a conductor, and the city is your orchestra. You are raising the curtain on the first act. The overture of coughing, splashing water, and clattering pans is about to begin. You can almost hear the collective groan of 1,000 people forcing themselves out of warm beds. You feel a pang of sympathy. You know that feeling. But you also feel a sense of power. You are the one who makes it happen. You turn towards the town center. The clock tower looms above the roofs. You can't see the hands clearly in the mist, but you can hear the bells chime the quarter hour. You are on schedule. The city is waking up, one dried pea at a time, and you are just getting started. You move toward the cluster of terrace houses closer to the river, where the air is heavier with the smell of damp earth and the silent, flowing water. Here, the slate roofs glisten under the faint, diffused glow of the gas lamps. slick with the morning's condensation. This is a denser part of the neighborhood, a labyrinth of narrow alleyways and sudden courtyards where sound travels in strange, unpredictable ways. A cough from a doorway 3 houses down can sound like it's right next to your ear, while your own footsteps seem to vanish into the fog before they even hit the ground. You pause at the entrance to a particularly narrow passage, locally known as the gullet. It is barely wide enough for 2 men to pass shoulder to shoulder. The brick walls rise high on either side, blotting out the sky, turning the space into a deep, rectangular canyon. You check the slate tablet hanging by the first door. It is a small, rough rectangle of stone, scratched and scarred by years of use. This is your ledger, your instruction manual for the morning. In these tighter quarters, the residents don't just rely on a standard wake-up call. Their shifts are chaotic, dictated by the whims of the foreman and the arrival of raw materials. A weaver might need to be up at 3:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, but not until 500 a.m. on a Wednesday. To communicate this, they leave messages. Not notes on paper. Paper is precious and wouldn't survive the damp. But marks on the doorframes, the window sills, or these small slate tablets. You lean in close, squinting in the gloom. The chalk marks are faint, white ghosts against the dark gray stone. You see a series of vertical lines. 4 o'clock. Beside it, a crude drawing of a hammer. That's for the blacksmith's apprentice who lodges in the attic. He's a heavy sleeper. The symbol likely means, don't give up until he's actually at the window. You make a mental note, extra P's for the attic. Further down, on the next door, someone has rubbed out yesterday's mark with a wet thumb, leaving a smeared gray patch. Over it, they've scratched a new time, 4:30. But there's a second mark below it, a small circle with a line through it. You pause, interpreting the code. In this street, that usually means, don't wake the baby. It's a plea for precision. Aim for the upper pane, the one furthest from the crib. Do not rattle the frame. It's a challenge, a test of your skill. You accept it silently. You walk down the passage, the bamboo tube held close to your body to avoid scraping it against the rough brickwork. You stop at the first door, the blacksmith's apprentice. You look up. The attic window is tiny, a mere porthole in the roof. It's dark. You step back as far as the narrow alley allows, pressing your back against the opposite wall to get the angle. You load 2 heavy P's. You need velocity here. You inhale deeply, the cold air rushing into your chest. You aim. Thwit. The sound of the breath leaving the tube is sharp. Thwack. The P's hit the glass with a solid, jarring noise. You wait. Silence. You load again. This time, 3 P's. Fwit. Thwack clatter. The sound echoes in the confined space. A groan drifts down from above. Then a curse, muffled by the glass. The window latches rattle, and the small pane swings open. A face, smeared with soot even after a night's sleep, peers out. He blinks, sees nothing in the dark alley but shadows, and grunts. He's up. You push off the wall and move to the next door, the house with the baby. You tread even more carefully here. Your boots, usually confident on the stone, now move with the stealth of a cat. You locate the bedroom window on the first floor. You can see the faint outline of a crib near the bottom of the sill. You aim high, targeting the very top corner of the upper sash. You select a single, small P, a whisper P. You blow gently. The P arcs through the air, tapping the glass with a delicate tink. It is barely louder than a raindrop. You wait, holding your breath. No cry from the crib, no movement from the curtain. Was it too soft? You debate risking a second shot. Then the curtain ripples. A hand appears, gives a thumbs up against the glass, and vanishes. Success. You feel a small surge of professional pride. You have awoken the worker, while leaving the infant to dream. That is the mark of a master. You continue reading the doors as you go. Some marks are cryptic. A question mark next to a time. That usually means, wake me up, but I might not go in. You treat those as standard calls. Whether they get out of bed or roll over is their business, but you will have done your duty. Another door has a large X scrawled across the entire slate. That means sick or laid off. You walk past those houses with a heavy heart. Silence in those rooms means no wages today. You come across a door where the chalk has been washed away by a leaky gutter. The slate is blank, slick with water. You frown. The man who lives here, a dyer named Thomas, works the early shift every day. Did he forget to mark it? Or is he staying home? You check your mental catalogue. Thomas never misses a shift. He has 5 children. You decide to make a judgment call. You will wake him. If he's angry, you can apologize. If he's oversleeping, you've saved his job. You tap the window. Tick, tick. The window flies open almost immediately. Thomas looks out, panic in his eyes. What time is it? He whispers hoarsely. 3:45. Thomas. You whisper back, your voice projecting up the wall. He slumps with relief. Bless you. The rain took my mark. I thought I'd missed the bell. He waves a hand in gratitude and closes the window. You nod to yourself. Intuition is just as important as aim in this line of work. You are not just a machine reading codes. You are a neighbor watching out for neighbors. You leave the gullet and emerge into a wider courtyard shared by 4 tenements. Here, the residents have gotten creative. Instead of writing on doors, some have hung signs in their windows. A piece of cardboard with 3i30 written in charcoal hangs in one. In another, a slate is propped up against the glass from the inside. It keeps the message dry and legible. But there is one window that always makes you smile. It belongs to old Mrs. Higgins, a washerwoman who is deaf in one ear and sleeps like a log. She doesn't use chalk. She hangs a long string out of her window that dangles all the way down to the street. Tied to the end of the string, resting on the cobblestones, is a small wooden block. This is a different technique. You don't shoot peas at Mrs. Higgins. You walk over to the string, pick up the block, and give it a sharp tug. The string runs up the wall, through the open crack of the window, and is tied. So the legend goes, to her big toe, or perhaps to a bell by her bed. You prefer to imagine the toe. You give the string 3 rhythmic jerks. Yank, yank, yank. You watch the slack tighten and then go loose again. A moment later, the string is pulled up rapidly from above, disappearing into the room like a retreating snake. She is awake. It's a crude system, archaic even for 1890, but it works, and it saves you peas. You check the ground near the courtyard pump. Sometimes, people leave things for you here. Not tips. Money is too tight for that. But small tokens. A crust of bread wrapped in a rag. A bruised apple. Today, there is nothing but wet stones. You aren't disappointed. You don't do it for the tips. You move on to the next street, Copper Row. Here, the slate codes get more complicated. The factory nearby has started a new shift system. The split shift. Workers go in for 4 hours, come home for 4, then go back. It's a brutal schedule that destroys any chance of a natural sleep rhythm. The chalk marks reflect the confusion. 4 a.m. and 12 p.m. is written on one door. Wake me at 3, then again at 7 on another. You have to be a mathematician to keep track of it all. You verify the current time on your watch. It is now 4 and 10 a.m. The 4 a.m.s are done. You are moving into the 4015 and 430 territory. You scan the doors for those specific numbers, ignoring the others. It requires focus. If you wake a 5 a.m. worker at 4 and 15, you are stealing 45 minutes of precious rest from them. That is a theft they will not forgive. You stop at a house where the slate is missing entirely. In its place, someone has used a piece of burnt coal to write directly on the white, washed stone of the doorframe. Neno is written in large, angry letters. You pause. Does that mean no work? Or no knocking? You assume it means go away. You pass by further down. You see a new mark you haven't seen before. A drawing of a fish. You blink, leaning closer. Yes, a fish. You scratch your head. Then you remember. It's Friday. The fish market porters need to be up early on Fridays to unload the catch from the coast. This must be a new lodger, a porter. You check the time. Porters are usually 4:30 men. You make a note to circle back in 20 minutes. The fog is shifting again, swirling in the currents of air trapped between the buildings. It distorts the chalk marks, making a 3 look like an 8. You have to wipe the moisture off with your gloved thumb to read them clearly. Your gloves are getting damp, the wool soaking up the mist. Your fingers are cold, stiffening around the bamboo tube. You flex them, keeping the blood flowing. You turn into a street that runs parallel to the railway line. The vibration of the trains has shaken some of the slates off their hooks. They lie shattered on the pavement. You have to guess for these houses. You look for the signs of the regulars. The boots left outside to be cleaned, a rare optimism. The specific arrangement of curtains. You know that number 12 is always a 4 and 15. Number 14 is a 500. Number 16 varies. You decide to skip 16 unless you see a sign. Suddenly, a window opens above you before you even lift your tube. A man leans out, smoking a pipe. He looks down at you. Save your breath. Lad, he says quietly. Baby's been crying all night. Haven't slept a wink. You lower the tube. Sorry to hear that, Mr. Evans. Not your fault. Go on. Get the others. He waves you away, turning back to the dark room and the crying child. You walk on, feeling a strange solidarity. You are both awake in a sleeping world, but for very different reasons. He is a victim of the night. You are its master. As you leave Copper Row, you pass the local pub, the Weaver's Arms. It is dark and silent now, the windows barred, but on the side door, the landlord has left a slate. Barman 500 die. Even the people who pour the beer need you. The cycle of the city is interconnected. The weaver needs the knocker, upper to get to the mill. The mill needs the weaver to make the cloth. The landlord needs the weaver to spend his wages. And the landlord needs the knocker, upper to wake the barman to serve the weaver. It is a circle of dependency, and you are the starting point. You reach the end of your slate, reading district. The next section is the wealthier street, where they can afford clocks. You won't be needed there. You turn back toward the factory zone, looping around to catch the stragglers and the late risers. You pause for a moment to clean your slate, reading thumb on your coat. It is white with chalk dust. a smudge of the city's schedule printed on your skin. You look at the marks on the doors one last time. They are more than just times. They are stories. They are the hopes and struggles of a community written in dust. The sick, cross, the baby. Circle the desperate, wake me no matter what, underline. You are reading the diary of the street, one door at a time. You lift your bamboo tube, check the load, and step back into the fog. The next chapter of the morning awaits. You adjust your stance on the slick cobblestones, planting your feet firmly to counter the slick surface. Now, we move from the simple act of finding the target to the art of hitting it. To the untrained eye, what you do looks simple: put P in tube, blow, hit window. But you know better. There is a physics to this, a geometry of angles and wind resistance that you have mastered over thousands of mornings. You are not just blowing air, you are calculating trajectories in the dark. The window you are facing now is a particular challenge. It belongs to a foreman who lives on the third floor of a corner building. The building has a peculiar architectural quirk, a decorative stone ledge that protrudes just below his window sill. If you aim straight at the glass from the street, the trajectory is too steep. The P risks clipping the ledge and bouncing harmlessly away. If you stand too far back to shallow out the angle, you lose velocity, and the P strikes with a pathetic tap that wouldn't wake a dozing cat, let alone a snoring foreman. You have to thread the needle. You need a parabolic arc. You need to aim slightly above the center pane, allowing gravity to pull the P down at the last second so it strikes the glass at a downward angle, skipping over the ledge. It is a trick shot, the kind of thing boys practice with stones and tin cans, but you are doing it with a dried legume and a man's livelihood at stake. You load a flatter P, one of the ones you've sanded slightly on one side to make it more aerodynamic. You place it in the tube. You lift the bamboo. You don't just blow from your mouth. That's a rookie mistake. That gives you a weak, puffy shot. You blow from the diaphragm, a sharp, percussive burst of air, like a cough. Ha! The P flies. It clears the ledge by an inch. Crack. A perfect, sharp impact on the upper pane. The sound is crisp, like a pistol shot in the silence. You lower the tube, watching. A moment later, the light flares in the room. You allow yourself a small, invisible smile in the dark. Bullseye. This precision is what separates you from the amateurs. There are boys who try to do this for a few pennies, using rolled-up newspapers or shorter reeds. They lack the range. They lack the control. They spray the whole building with peas, waking up the dogs, the babies, and the neighbors, turning the street into a cacophony of barking and shouting. You, on the other hand, are a sniper. You leave no collateral damage. You move to the next house. This one presents a different problem: fragility. The resident is an old woman, a seamstress, who rents a room with a very old, very thin window pane. It is cracked in the corner, held together with strips of brown paper. If you hit that glass with a storm P at full force, you will shatter it, and then you will be paying for a glazier out of your own pocket, which means no tobacco for a month. You need the soft touch. You select a P that is slightly lighter, perhaps a bit hollowed out by a weevil. Useless for long range. Perfect for this. You step a little closer to the wall. You aim not for the center of the pane, which is weakest, but for the wooden mountain bar that separates the panes. Or, even better, the glass right next to the frame, where it is strongest. You exhale gently, a long, controlled breath rather than a sharp burst. The pea floats up almost lazily. Tap. It kisses the glass. It is a polite knock, a gentleman's caller. You wait. You see the shadow move. She is awake. You have done it again. Woken the sleeper without breaking the house. People often ask, or they would, if anyone ever asked a knocker-upper about his trade, why you don't just throw the peas by hand. Why the tube? They say. You have an arm, don't you? They don't understand the mechanics. A thrown pea disperses its energy. It tumbles. It loses speed. It hits with a dull thud. A blown pea spins. The rifling of the natural bamboo, or perhaps the way you hold your tongue, gives it a spiral stability. It cuts through the air. It retains its kinetic energy until the moment of impact. It snaps against the glass. That high-frequency snap is what cuts through the low-frequency drone of snoring. You turn down a narrow alley where the wind is funneling through like a wind tunnel. This is the enemy of the knocker-upper. Wind shear. If you shoot straight here, the wind will take your pea and slam it into the brick wall 3 feet to the right of the window. You have to aim off target. You have to aim at the brick wall to the left of the window, anticipating the drift. You gauge the wind speed by the feel of it on your cheek. It's gusting. You wait for a lull. The wind dies down for a second. Now, you fire. The wind picks up just as the pea leaves the tube, curving it in a beautiful arc. It curves right, and clack. Contact. It feels like magic, like bending the laws of physics with your breath. There is also the issue of ricochet. You must be careful where the pea goes after it hits. In a crowded courtyard, a pea bouncing off a second-story window can fall directly onto the head of a milkman passing below. Or worse, it can bounce into an open window on the first floor and land in someone's soup. You have learned to angle your shots so the pea deflects harmlessly into the gutter or back toward you. You are a master of the angles, a billiards player where the table is vertical and the cue ball is a vegetable. You reach a row of houses where the bedrooms are on the ground floor. This should be easy, right? Wrong. Ground floor windows are often screened with wire mesh to prevent break-ins, or they have heavy shutters. A pea against a shutter is useless. It sounds like a twig falling. You have to find a gap, a missing slat in the shutter, a hole in the mesh. You approach one such window. The shutters are closed tight. But you know there is a hole in the wood of the left shutter, right near the top. You have memorized this hole. It is your portal. You lean in, placing the tip of the bamboo tube almost directly against the hole. You blow. The pea shoots through the gap and hits the glass inside. Clink. The sound is muffled by the wood, but it is audible to the person inside. The shutter unlatches from the inside and swings open. A grimy face peers out. "Cheers, mate," he grumbles. You nod. The magic hole works again. Then there are the double glazings, rare, but appearing in some of the newer, better-built tenements. 2 panes of glass with air in between. Soundproofing. The enemy of your profession. A pea hitting the outer pane barely registers on the inner one. You have to hammer these. You use the rapid fire technique here exclusively. You load 3 heavy peas and machine gun the glass. Rat-a-tat-tat. You create a continuous vibration, a resonance that travels through the frame and into the room. It's annoying. It's persistent. It works. You check your ammunition. You are running low on the standard peas. You are down to the oublies, the misshapen ones, the ones with flat spots. These are unpredictable. They fly like knuckleballs, dipping and swerving. You save these for the easy shots, the large windows on the lower floors where precision matters less. You don't waste a perfect sphere on a barn door. You come to a house where the window is blocked by a window box overflowing with dead ivy. The vines cover half the glass. You can't see the pane clearly. You have to shoot blind, aiming through the foliage. You listen for the sound. Rustle. That hit a leaf. Rustle. Another leaf. You adjust your aim, looking for a gap in the greenery. Tick, there it is. The glass. You pump 3 more shots through that same gap, widening the hole in the vines with your barrage. You are pruning the plant with peas. Sometimes you have to deal with the unexpected obstacle, condensation. On particularly cold mornings, the windows are coated in thick frost or heavy dew. A pea hitting wet glass makes a dull splat sound rather than a crack. It sticks for a second before sliding down. It doesn't vibrate the pane. For these mornings, you have a special trick. You use a frozen pea. Not literally frozen, but a pea you have kept in a separate pocket with a piece of chalk. The chalk dust coats the pea, drying it out and adding friction. When it hits the wet glass, the chalk absorbs the moisture instantly, allowing the hard surface of the pea to make a sharp impact. It also leaves a little white mark on the glass. Proof of your visit. You are an inventor as much as a marksman. You are constantly refining your methods, adapting to the changing conditions of the urban environment. You are the scientist of the street corner. You pause to catch your breath. Your lungs are burning slightly from the cold air and the exertion. You have been blowing continuously for an hour. Your diaphragm muscles are tight. You massage your chest through your coat. It is physically demanding work. People think you just walk, but you are essentially playing a wind instrument for 4 hours straight. You have the lung capacity of an opera singer, hidden beneath a rough wool coat. You look at the bamboo tube. It is getting damp with condensation from your breath. This changes the friction inside the barrel. You take a rag from your pocket, a dedicated barrel swab, attached to a piece of string with a weight on the end. You drop the weight through the tube and pull the rag through. It comes out damp. You do it again. The bore must be dry. A wet tube slows the pea. A slow pea is a failed wake-up call. Maintenance is key. You are now facing the long shot. There is a house set back from the road, behind a small walled garden. You cannot get close to the window, because the gate is locked. The distance is perhaps 20 feet. This is the limit of the pea shooter's effective range. Beyond this, the pea drops too much. You have to elevate your aim significantly. You are launching a mortar shell now. You tilt the tube up at a 45-degree angle. You calculate the drop. You summon every ounce of breath you have. You plant your feet. You visualize the arc. Wahos! The pea soars high, clearing the garden wall, clearing the rose bushes. It begins to fall. You hold your breath. Clack! Faint but audible. It hit, but was it loud enough? You wait. Nothing. You try again. Same arc. Same force. Clack. Still nothing. The distance is robbing the impact of its power. You decide to switch tactics. You cannot hit it harder. You have to hit it more. You load 5 peas. A shotgun blast. You fire them all at once. They spread out in the air like a flock of birds. Clatter, patter, tink, tick. A rain of peas strikes the window. The cumulative noise is strange, unnatural. It sounds like hail. That does the trick. The curtain moves. The face appears, looking confused at the sudden localized weather phenomenon. You tip your cap and walk on. You turn the corner and see a rival. Not a knocker-upper, but a milkman's horse, startled by a stray cat. The horse kicks out, its hoof striking the cobblestones with a spark. You don't flinch. You are focused. You have 3 more houses in this section. One of them is the recidivist, a man who wakes up, waves to you, and then goes back to sleep. You know his tricks. You don't just shoot and leave. You shoot, wait for the wave, walk away, and then circle back 2 minutes later to shoot again. The double tap. It's the only way to be sure. You approach his window. You fire. Tick. He appears instantly, waving enthusiastically. Too enthusiastically. He's faking it. He's not even out of bed, he's just leaning over. You nod and pretend to leave. You walk 10 paces, counting in your head. You stop. You turn. You creep back. You see the light is still out. He has gone back to sleep. You raise the tube. Crac. You hit the glass as hard as you can. The light snaps on. A shadow moves angrily across the room. Now he is up. Now he is cursing you. Good. Anger wakes a man up better than anything. You have done him a favor. You have mastered the angles, the wind, the distance, the materials, and the psychology. You are a virtuoso of the bamboo tube. The city is your instrument, and you are playing the morning symphony, 1 note at a time. As the morning deepens and the gray light begins to reveal the true grit of the city, you spot movement at the far end of the street. A long, thin shadow stretches across the wet pavement, longer than any man. It belongs to one of your colleagues, or perhaps more accurately, one of your friendly rivals. He is a pole man. You watch him work from a distance. He carries a fishing rod, a colossal thing made of heavy ash wood, nearly 15 feet long. At the end, instead of a line and hook, he has fashioned a trident of stiff wire, bent into a scratchy claw. He stops beneath a window, heaves the great pole, upright like a pikeman in a medieval formation, and begins to rub the wire against the glass. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. It is a grating sound like fingernails on a blackboard. It sets your teeth on edge even from here. You shake your head slightly. The pole method. It lacks elegance. It lacks finesse. It is the brute force approach to waking up. Sure, it works. The noise is hideous enough to wake the dead. But look at him struggle with the weight of it. The wind catches the long pole, swaying it dangerously close to the street lamps. He has to wrestle it like an unruly serpent. And consider the logistics. How does he navigate the tight alleyways? He has to lower the pole, carry it horizontally, risk poking someone's eye out around a corner, then hoist it up again. It is cumbersome. It is slow. You, with your slender bamboo one tucked under your arm, can slip through the city like a ghost. You can cover twice the ground in half the time. But there is a camaraderie even in rivalry. You cross paths under a flickering gas lamp. He is an older man, his face weathered like old leather, his coat stained with soot. He rests the butt of his pole on the ground, leaning on it heavily. "Morning, Arthur," you say, nodding toward his siege weapon. "Heavy load today." He grunts, shifting his weight. Wins a devil on the high ones. Nearly took out Mrs. Goggins' flower pot. You and your pea, shooter, you've got it easy. Precision, Arthur. It's all about precision. You reply with a faint smile. Precision don't mean nothing when the glass is frosted over thick as a shilling. He counters. The wire cuts right through the ice. Your peas just bounce off. He has a point. The wire scratcher is superior for ice. But you have your chalk pea trick. You don't argue. Fair enough. Watch out for the constable on High Street. He's in a mood. Right. Cheers. He heaves the pole back onto his shoulder, groaning slightly under the leverage, and lumbers off into the mist. You watch him go, a relic of a heavier age. Further on, near the canal basin, you encounter another variation of the trade. This is the snuffer. He is a younger man, energetic and perhaps a bit reckless. He carries a long pole too, but his is bamboo, lighter than Arthur's. On the end, he has attached a heavy metal cone, a candle snuffer. His technique is aggressive. He doesn't scratch, he bangs. He swings the pole and thumps the metal cone against the window frame or the glass itself.
But.
It sounds like a drum. It is effective. Certainly, but dangerous. You have seen snuffers crack more windows than anyone else. They misjudge the swing, or the wind takes the pole, and smash. There goes a week's wages. You see him working a row of cottages. Bang! Hope you get, he shouts. He adds vocals to his percussion. Bang! Sun's up, you lazy sods. He sees you and waves the pole. Oi, Pete, man! Still playing with your toys? Still breaking windows? Jack, you call back softly. He laughs. Speed, mate. Speed is money. I can do a whole street while you're reloading your little pipe. And you wake up 3 houses for every one you're paid for. You murmur to yourself. It is true. His method is loud. Neighbors complain. You have heard stories of snuffers getting buckets of slops thrown on them. Not by the client, but by the angry neighbor next door, who just wanted another hour of sleep. Your method is surgical. Only the client hears the tick on the glass. The rest of the street sleeps on. You are a ghost, he is a poltergeist. There are other, rarer breeds you hear about. The soft hammer, men who use a hammer head wrapped in cloth on a long stick. The rattle, men who use a wooden cog, rattle to make a clacking sound. And the absolute bottom of the hierarchy, the shouters, men with no tools, just loud voices and strong lungs, standing in the street yelling names. For you are Ocilo Feet, ITA, for you are to I. They don't last long. The police move them on for disturbing the peace, or they lose their voices after a week. You realize that your profession is a spectrum of ingenuity. Everyone is trying to solve the same problems. How to bridge the vertical gap between the street and the bedroom window. How to transmit a wake up signal 10, 20, 30 feet into the air. You turn a corner and find yourself parallel with a railway bridge. Here you see a different kind of rival, not a human one, a technological one. High up on the wall of a factory, a steam whistle is mounted, a brass monster. At 5:30 a.m., it will scream, a sound that can be heard for 3 miles. The factory buzzer. This is the enemy. The owners are starting to install these to wake their entire workforce at once. Why pay a knocker upper when you can just blast steam into the air? It is crude. It is indiscriminate. It wakes everyone. The sick, the elderly, the children, the night shift workers trying to sleep. It is the industrial equivalent of the shouter. But for now, the whistle is silent. It waits for its time. And it has a flaw. It only signals the general start of the shift. It doesn't help the man who needs to be up an hour early to light the boilers. It doesn't help the woman who needs to nurse her baby before leaving. It is a blunt instrument. You are a scalpel. You still have a place. For now, you walk past a row of houses where the knocker, upper, lives. Yes, it is a real thing. Who wakes you up? You, the man who wakes everyone else. You rely on your body clock, honed by years of habit. You wake up because the cold wakes you, or perhaps you have an alarm clock. Not a machine, but a physiological trick. You drink a pint of water before bed. But in some cities, there is an old man, usually an insomniac, who is paid a pittance to wake the knocker-uppers. He is the prime mover, the first domino. You pass his house. He is sitting on his doorstep, wrapped in a blanket, smoking a clay pipe. He nods at you. He has been awake all night. He doesn't need waking. He is the guardian of the night itself. Quiet night, he asks. Foggy, you reply. Arthur's struggling with his pole. The old man chuckles. Arthur always struggles. He fights the job. You have to flow with it. Flow with the peas. You agree. You leave him and continue your rounds. You are approaching the territory of a female knocker-upper, Mary. She is famous in this district. She uses a pea shooter too, but hers is modified. She has attached a small mirror to the end of the bamboo, angled so she can see the window without craning her neck so much. A periscope shooter. She is brilliant. You admire her innovation. She also carries a small dog in a pouch, a terrier that barks on command if the peas fail. A dual-system approach. You don't see her today, but you see her handiwork. A window with a clean, white chalk mark on the pan. A hit. Confirmation she sometimes leaves. The competition keeps you sharp. If you miss a wake up, if a client is late and loses pay, they will fire you and hire Arthur or Jack or Mary. You cannot afford to be second best. You have to be the most reliable, the most accurate, the most discreet. You check your own accuracy. You look at the windows you have just serviced. Lights are coming on. Smoke is beginning to curl from chimneys. The machine is starting. You have done your job well. But the rivalry isn't just about skill, it's about territory. These streets. You bought the walk from the previous knocker-upper when he retired or died of pneumonia. You paid him a lump sum for the list of clients and the goodwill of the neighborhood. This is your patch. If Jack came here with his snuffer pole, there would be words. Maybe more than words. A pea shooter can be a weapon in a pinch, though a bamboo cane against a heavy ash pole is a losing battle. Disputes are usually settled in the pub, not the street, but the boundaries are invisible and sacred. You respect Arthur's streets, he respects yours. It is a guild, unofficial and unspoken. As you near the end of this section, the sky is lightening perceptibly. The deep purple is fading to a bruised blue. The street lamps are starting to look pale and sickly against the coming dawn. The shadows of the poles and the shooters are stretching out, becoming thin and ghostly. You see a group of workers emerging from a house you woke 20 minutes ago. They are huddled in their coats, carrying tin lunch pails. They look miserable, cold and half asleep, but they are moving. They are on time. One of them looks at you. He doesn't smile. He just nods. A tiny, almost imperceptible dip of the chin. It is an acknowledgement. You got me up. I hate you for it, but I needed it. That is the relationship. You are the necessary evil. You turn back to look at the street behind you. The fog is lifting. You can see the silhouette of Arthur in the distance. still wrestling his pole against a high window. Scritch, scratch. You can see Jack banging his cone. Bong, and you look at your bamboo tube. Simple, silent, effective. You wouldn't trade it for the world. You are the sniper of the dawn, the virtuoso of the vegetable. You prepare to move to the final leg of your journey, the sector where the police patrol, and the night meets the day in a final, gray collision. The city is changing as the hour hand creeps past 5. The deep, monolithic silence of the night is beginning to fracture, replaced by the isolated, distinct sounds of early commerce. You are entering the transitional zone, both in time and geography. This is the district where the warehouses meet the main thoroughfares, where the private solitude of the knocker upper brushes against the public authority of the law. You turn onto the high street. Here, the cobblestones are wider, more evenly laid. The gas lamps are taller, their glass housings cleaner, casting a brighter, more authoritative light. You can hear the heavy, measured tread of boots ahead of you. Not the hurried scuffling of a late worker, nor the soft shuffle of a vagrant. This is the rhythmic, steel-heeled cadence of the beat cop. You see him emerge from the fog, a silhouette defined by the helmet and the cape. The constable. He walks with his hands clasped behind his back, a posture of ownership. This street belongs to him. The alleys belong to you, but the high street is his. You do not hide. You are not a criminal. Your trade is legal, necessary even. But there is always a slight tension. Technically, loitering, or creating a disturbance, could be applied to your work if a policeman were feeling particularly officious, shooting projectiles at windows, disturbing the peace. It's a gray area, but most coppers know the score. They know that without you, the mill owners, the men who pay the taxes that pay the police wages, would be short-staffed. You nod as you pass him. Morning, officer. He pauses, turning his head slowly. His face is red from the cold, his mustache beaded with moisture. He eyes your bamboo tube. Morning. Quiet rounds. Quiet enough. Arthur's having trouble with the wind on North Street, though. The constable huffs, a cloud of steam erupting from his nose. Arthur's a menace. Knocked a plant pot onto my beat last week. Watch yourself. Always do, officer. He continues his walk, his boots striking the pavement like a metronome. Clack, clack, clack. You watch him go. It is a strange symbiotic relationship. He ensures the streets are safe for you to walk. You ensure the streets are full of workers for him to police. You are both agents of order, in your own ways. You have reached the commercial buildings. Here, people live above the shops. The grocer, the haberdasher, the pharmacist. These are the 5:30s and the 600s. They don't need to be up as early as the factory hands, but they still need the nudge. The architecture here is grander. The windows are larger, plate glass. This is dangerous. Plate glass is expensive. It vibrates differently. It sings with a low, ominous hum when hit. You have to dial back the power. You cannot use the storm peas. You switch to the lightweights, the smaller, dried lentils you sometimes mix in for delicate jobs. You stop outside the apothecary. The chemist sleeps on the second floor. You see the sign in the window, medical hall. You wonder if he has a cure for the cold that has seeped into your bones. Probably not. Just laudanum and whiskey, the universal remedies. You aim for the wooden frame of his window, not the glass. Tap. Wood makes a duller sound, less likely to startle. Tap. The chemist appears. He looks disheveled, wearing a nightcap that looks like a deflated stocking. He raises a hand in thanks. You wonder if he sells earplugs. That would be bad for business. As you move down the high street, you encounter other denizens of the dawn. The night soil men are finishing their rounds. The gong farmers, their cart rumbles past, smelling of lime and worse things. They are the lowest of the low in the social hierarchy, unseen and unspoken of, clearing the privies while the city sleeps. You give them a wide berth, holding your breath. They nod at you grimly. They know they are the untouchables. You, with your clean bamboo stick, are practically aristocracy compared to them. Then there are the market carts, rolling in from the countryside. Piles of cabbages, sacks of potatoes, crates of live chickens. The drivers are asleep at the reins, letting the horses find the way. You have to step into the gutter to let them pass. The wheels splash mud onto your coat. You brush it off without anger. It is part of the job. You check your list. You have a special client here, the police station itself. Yes, even the law needs waking. Specifically, the sergeant who lives in the flat adjoining the station. He has an early briefing. You approach the formidable brick building with the blue lamp outside. This feels subversive. You are about to shoot a pea at the police station. You stand on the opposite pavement. The sergeant's window is barred, not to keep people in, but to keep the riffraff out. You have to shoot through the bars. It is a high-stakes shot. If you hit a bar, the pea will ricochet back with speed. If you miss and hit the station window below, well, best not to think about that. You aim carefully. The gap between the iron bars is wide enough, but the angle is tricky. You fire. Ping. You hit a bar. The pea flies off into the darkness with a metallic ring. You wince. You look around. The beat cop is gone. You try again. You adjust your stance. You focus. Thwack. Glass? Good. The window opens. The sergeant looks out. He is already wearing his uniform tunic, but his head is bare. He looks stern. Then he sees it's you. He checks his pocket watch. He gives you a sharp nod, military style. Dismissed. You feel a wave of relief. Waking the police is always the most stressful part of the day. You turn off the high street and back into the maze of residential terraces. You are heading for the gasworks district. Here, the smell of coal gas is pervasive. It hangs in the air, a sweet, sickly scent. The street lamps here burn brighter, fueled by the source nearby. The workers here are rough men, stokers and shovelers. They are heavy sleepers. You need your heaviest peas. You check your pouch. You are running low on the heavy artillery. You have maybe 10 solid peas left. The rest are the shrapnel, bits and pieces. You will have to make every shot count. You find a house where 3 men lodge. They all need to be up. You decide to use the cascade technique. You fire 1 pea at the top pane, 1 at the middle, 1 at the bottom. Tick-tack, tock, a scale of notes. It works. The house comes alive. You hear shouting, the thud of feet on floorboards. You move on. You are nearing the end of your route. Your legs are tired. The cold has stiffened your knees. Your breath is coming in shorter puffs. The romance of the night is fading, replaced by the fatigue of the morning. You see a stray dog trotting towards you. It stops, sniffing the air. It smells the peas in your pocket. It whines. You reach into your pouch and pull out a broken pea. You toss it to the dog. It snaps it out of the air and crunches it happily. A small offering to the spirits of the street. Go on, boy. You whisper. Shift's almost over. You pass a bakery that is already open, the shutters thrown back. The smell of hot bread is overpowering now. It makes your mouth water. You can see the baker inside, dusting flour off his hands. He sees you and winks. He slides a fresh bun across the counter near the window. You pause. You shouldn't stop. But the bun. You step close to the window. "Morning, Mr. Baker." "Morning, Stick." He calls you by your nickname. "Cold one?" "Freezing." He tosses the bun through the open window. You catch it. It is hot, burning your fingers. It feels like a piece of the sun. You bite into it. It is soft, yeasty, delicious. It warms you from the inside out. "Thank you." You call back with your mouth full. He waves. "Wake up Mrs. Gable for me. She owes me for a loaf." You nod. Mrs. Gable is next. You reach Mrs. Gable's house. She is a heavy sleeper. You finish the bun. Wiping the crumbs from your lips, you feel revitalized. You raise the tube. Whack! You hit the window hard. A favor for the baker. She appears, looking furious, hair in curlers. She shakes a fist. You tip your cap and walk away quickly. You are just the messenger. The sky is now a pale, washed out gray. The street lamps are beginning to look redundant, their yellow light fighting a losing battle against the daylight. The constable is coming back down the other side of the street. He sees you again, nearly done. He asks across the road. "Last few. Officer?" "Good lad. Keep the noise down." Silent as the grave. "Officer." You turn into the final alley. This is the Warren, the poorest of the poor. The houses here are tumbling down. The windows are small, dark, and often replaced with oiled paper or rags. You can't shoot peas at rags. It makes no sound. For these houses, you have to improvise. You use the bamboo tube itself. You reach up and tap the wall. Tap, tap, tap. Or you use the end of the tube to gently prod the paper window, making it rustle. It is a delicate operation. You are waking people up to a hard life, to poverty, to cold. You feel a strange sense of guilt here. You are the herald of another day of struggle. But if you don't wake them, they don't work. If they don't work, they don't eat. You are an agent of survival. You tap on a door frame. A voice coughs from inside. "Hey, we're up." You move to the next. A paper window. You scratch it with the bamboo. Scritch. A child's face appears at a tear in the paper. Big eyes. "Is it time?" "It's time, lad." You whisper. "Is it cold?" "Very." The face disappears. You feel a heaviness in your chest. You wish you could tell him to go back to sleep, to dream of warm places. But you can't. You check your pouch. Empty. You shake it upside down. A few husks fall out. That's it. You are out of ammunition. But you are also out of houses. You check your mental map. You have covered every street, every alley, every court. You have woken the weavers, the spinners, the stokers, the bakers, the barmen, the porters, and the police. You have jump-started the city. You stand at the end of the alley, looking out over the rooftops. The chimneys are all smoking now. A forest of smoke. The hum of the factories is beginning. A low vibration that you feel in your feet. The beast is awake. You lower the bamboo tube. It feels heavy now. Your arm aches. Your lips are chapped from the cold wood. But there is a satisfaction, a sense of completion. You have done your part. You begin the walk back towards your own lodgings. You are going against the tide now. The streets are filling with people. Men in flat caps, women in shawls, children in oversized boots. The clatter of clogs on cobblestones is deafening. They stream past you, heads down, eyes fixed on the factory gates. They don't look at you. You are invisible again. Your time is over. Knocker, up. Time is the liminal space between night and day. Once the day starts, you are a ghost. You weave through the crowd, shielding your bamboo tube. You don't want it snapped in the crush. You are a salmon swimming upstream. You pass a clock tower. It shows 6000 a.m. The factory whistles blow. Oh, oh. The sound is earth shattering. It drowns out everything. The birds, the voices, the footsteps. It is the cry of the new god. You wince. You hate that sound. It is the sound that will eventually replace you. But not today. Today, you beat the whistle. You got them up before the scream. You turn into your own quiet street. It is empty again. The workers have left. The silence returns, but it is a different silence. It is the silence of an empty house, not a sleeping one. You reach your door. You are tired, bone-tired, but you are also hungry. And you have a few coins in your pocket from the week's collections. You look at the bamboo tube. It has served you well. You pat it? Good shift. You whisper to the wood. You open your door and step into the dark hallway. It smells of cabbage again, but it smells like home. You close the heavy front door behind you, shutting out the growing roar of the waking city. The lock clicks with a sound of finality, a mechanical punctuation mark at the end of your shift. Inside, the hallway is dim and quiet, holding onto the night's chill like a stubborn guest. You lean your bamboo tube against the wall in the corner, right next to the umbrella stand. It rests there, a simple stick of wood that has just dictated the morning for hundreds of people. It looks unassuming now, stripped of its purpose until tomorrow. You unbutton your heavy coat, your fingers clumsy and stiff. The fabric is damp with fog and speckled with the soot of the streets. As you peel it off, you feel the weight lift from your shoulders. You hang it on the peg, where it will drip dry, smelling faintly of coal smoke and the baker's yeast. You untie your scarf, the wool scratching against your neck, and drape it over the coat. You are shedding the armor of the knocker, upper, layer by layer, returning to being just a man in a quiet house. You walk into your small room. The fire in the grate has long since died out, leaving only gray ash and a few blackened cinders. The air is cold, but it is a still, dry cold, different from the biting damp of the outdoors. You don't bother to relight the fire yet. You are too tired, and soon you will be asleep again. That is the strange, inverted rhythm of your life. While the rest of the world is fueling up for the day, you are winding down. Your evening is their morning. Your sunset is their sunrise. You sit on the edge of your bed, the springs creaking softly. You begin to unlace your boots. This is the best moment of the day. You loosen the laces, pulling them wide. You pry the leather off your heel. The relief is instant. Your feet, aching from miles of cobblestones, throb with a dull, pleasant warmth as the blood returns. You wiggle your toes in your thick wool socks. You leave the boots by the door, side by side, ready for the next patrol. You stand up and stretch, your spine popping. You walk to the small window and pull the curtain aside just an inch. Outside, the street is empty again. The flood of workers has passed, swallowed by the mill gates. The silence has returned, but it is thinner now, brittle. You can hear the distant hum of the machinery, a low vibration that travels through the ground. It is the heartbeat of the town, a rhythm you helped start. You let the curtain fall. You are done with the outside world. You move to the wash basin. The water in the pitcher is freezing, a skim of ice floating on top. You break it with your finger. You splash your face. The shock of the cold water washes away the grit of the fog and the last lingering tension of the job. You dry your face with a rough towel, scrubbing hard until your skin tingles. You are hungry, but not for a heavy meal. The bun from the baker took the edge off. You might have a cup of tea later, when you wake up properly in the afternoon. For now, sleep is the only hunger that matters. You strip down to your underclothes and slide back into bed. The sheets are cold at first, making you shiver, but your body heat quickly warms the small cave beneath the blankets. You pull the wool up to your chin, burying yourself in the darkness. You close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come instantly. Your mind is still walking the streets. You see the flash of the white chalk marks on the slate. You hear the tick, tick of the pea against the glass. You feel the recoil of the bamboo tube in your hands. The adrenaline of the morning, the focus, the aim, the timing, takes a while to fade. You are like an engine cooling down, ticking and settling. You lie there and think about the future. You saw the steam whistle this morning. You heard the factory buzzer. You know deep down that your days are numbered. The world is getting louder. Alarm clocks are getting cheaper. The tick-tock. Men, the clockmakers, are your true rivals, not Arthur or Jack. Every year, a few more households buy a tin clock with a bell on top. Every year, a few more slates disappear from the doors. You wonder what you will do when the last slate is wiped clean. Will you become a lamplighter? No, electricity is coming for them too. A sweeper? A watchman? Or will you just be an old man telling stories about the days when men shot peas at windows? It is a melancholy thought, but it doesn't distress you. It feels inevitable, like the dawn itself. Progress is a machine that cannot be stopped. You are just a small cog that will eventually be replaced. But not yet. Not today. Today you were essential. Today, the city woke up because of you. You shift your position, finding the hollow in the mattress. Your breathing slows. The sounds of the house, the settling wood, the drip of a tap, become louder as your thoughts become quieter. You drift away from the logic of the day. The images in your mind become softer, less distinct. You imagine the peas, not as ammunition, but as seeds. You imagine all the peas you missed, the ones that fell into the cracks of the pavement, into the soil of the window boxes. You imagine them sprouting. A green vine growing up the side of a factory. Soft leaves unfurling against the hard brick. A tendril wrapping around the steam whistle, silencing it. A city reclaimed by the quiet, green persistence of nature. It is a pleasant dream. A silent, soft world. You think about the people you woke up. The weaver at her loom. The stoker at his furnace. The baker at his oven. They are all working now. Their hands are busy. Their minds are occupied. You are the only one resting. You have passed the baton. The weight of the world is off your shoulders. You held it for a few hours in the dark, and now you have handed it over to the sun. The light in the room is changing. The sun is rising higher, filtering through the thin curtains. It paints a rectangle of pale gold on the floorboards. Dust motes dance in the beam, swirling in slow motion. You watch them for a moment, mesmerized. They look like tiny stars, like the stars you saw this morning before the fog rolled in. Your eyelids feel heavy. Gravity is pulling you down, sinking you into the mattress. The cold of the room feels distant now, a memory. You are warm. You are safe. You hear a sound from the street. A cart passing, the clip-clop of a horse. It sounds far away, muffled, as if underwater. The world is retreating. The volume is being turned down. You think about the bamboo tube in the hall. It is resting too. It is a good tool, honest, simple. It connects you to the earth. Bamboo from a jungle, peas from a field. You are a man of nature working in a city of machines. There is a balance in that. You let go of the last thought. You let go of the map of the streets in your head. You let go of the schedule. You let go of the time. Time is no longer your master. You have stepped out of the clock. You are floating in the space between the hours. You are the knocker-upper, and you have knocked up the day. Now, the day can take care of itself. The fog in your mind thickens, but it is a warm, golden fog. The sharp edges of the brick buildings soften into clouds. The hard cobblestones turn into moss. The noise of the steam engines turns into the sound of a river flowing gently, endlessly. You are drifting on that river. You are a leaf on the water. There is no more aiming, no more calculating wind, no more cold fingers. There is only the slow, steady current of sleep carrying you away. Your breathing matches the rhythm of the river. In, out, slow, deep. The tension in your jaw releases. The knot in your shoulder undoes itself. Your hands, which held the bamboo so tight, are now open and relaxed. You are safe here. You have earned this rest. The city will keep turning without you for a while. The wheels will spin. The shuttles will fly. The smoke will rise. But you are going to a place where there are no factories, no whistles, no clocks, just the quiet. The beautiful, deep, endless quiet. The light on the floor fades as a cloud passes over the sun. The room dims. It is a signal. The final curtain. You sink deeper. The mattress holds you. The blankets protect you. Sleep comes not as a sudden switch, but as a slow tide rising. It covers your feet, your legs, your chest. It covers your thoughts. Everything is soft. Everything is still. And in the silence of the room, with the day bustling outside, the knocker-upper finally sleeps.